This might seem like a bit of a history lesson to some people out there, but never mind. Listen up. In the old days, when I was young, we had this thing going on, and it was called the New Age movement. And it had implied purposes in the ideas that was surrounding it. Personal liberty, greater freedom, greater ability to choose. That was part of it, yes. But it was also about proper proverbial kingdom of heaven stuff. It was about compassion for people who are different, compassion for the poor, for the weak, for the sick, compassion for the homeless, compassion for those who require assistance in society. Part of it would have been due to older ideas which had previously become a bit unfashionable but still had some validity coming to the surface and more people finding out about them. And part of it would be due to people finding different ways to live, finding ways to get on, people in various different traditions and cultures sharing their ideas to try and build up a cohesive understanding and a cohesive whole, to try and move forward through cross-cultural development of understanding. The way that a lot of people saw things, the way another people saw things, and trying to find the middle ground between the two, the areas where there is agreement and cooperation. And all of this weird, apparently supernatural stuff would have been some kind of connecting force there, because the ideas and the understandings within supernaturalism would help to expand human consciousness and awareness, and would show all of us that we are all connected. That will show all of us that we survive because of an interconnection of various different things. There's a phrase in, is it the Swahili language, I think? I can't remember precisely. And the word is Ubuntu. I think that's the pronunciation, if I've got it right. I don't know. And it essentially means I am because we are. It means that we all live in an ecosystem of ideas and personalities and characters, and the whole force of this New Age movement would be about understanding this, not just understanding yourself so you can work out where you fit into the commercial world and where you can be profitable, although that is an important part of it. Not just in terms of self-knowledge so you can get the right relationship for yourself, or self-knowledge so that you can progress, but knowledge about all, knowledge about the complexities of the human psychology and the things that make it up, knowledge about how to go in deep in terms of finding solutions to problems, knowledge in terms of the introspection, taking ideas from psychoanalysis and psychotherapy, bringing them together with this proper, complete, holistic understanding. And from that, it wasn't just a question of like fluffy New Age crap. It was a question of proper New Age thinking for the purposes of making society more efficient, making individuals be free from the burden of things like disease and poverty, and creating an environment whereby more people could become more satisfied and more connected. The growth of the pagan movement was somehow kind of seen as being a crowbar to try and lever us into this world. But the pagan movement itself has become a religious movement, and as such it's become dogmatic, it's become set apart, it's not necessarily going with the flow. And there's restrictions, okay? It's more a question of people within the pagan community are taken to it as a result of personal pain and a sense of an animosity against some ideas which occurred when they were younger, or maybe growing up, or going through the misery of church schooling or whatever it was. And then you think to yourself, has the New Age movement become a success? Has the dream of the world whereby we're sharing ideas and understanding the supernatural force, apparently supernatural force, of course it isn't supernatural, is it? Because if something happens in the world, it has to be natural by nature, and therefore we can see it as being almost like a physical force, almost like gravity and electromagnetism and that kind of stuff, because that's essentially what it is. If something exists, if something happens in the world, it's because of natural forces. So this New Age movement, it was looking with compassion at a lot of the things in society that's wrong. It was looking with compassion and empathy towards the people who were struggling, towards the people who were suffering, towards the people who were sick. It was looking towards those who have mental and emotional problems, and it was saying, like, there will be ways of using this stuff somehow to try and alleviate some of that to a certain degree moving into the future. Spiritual healing was part of it. Spiritual healing was a very key concept within New Age thought, and spiritual healing does have some validity, as personal experience suggests. Where are we now? This 21st century, it has been shocks. It was shocked by the falling of the Twin Towers. It's been shocked by all the stuff happening in the Middle East now, and it's being shocked by things happening in Ukraine. It's being shocked by the environmental issues, the global cost of living crisis. So there's lots of challenges to good thinking. But those challenges should be things that New Age thought should rise to. It's something that New Age thought should be dealing with, and people who are involved in higher spirituality should be expressing the values which will help this world to transition away from darkness and difficulty and negativity and into an environment of peace and light and balance and economic agreement, and people getting on with each other, and people who are from very different classes, cultures, backgrounds, educational levels, different demographics, different spiritualities, getting on to work out where the similarities are and how, as a group, as a society, as a global community, we can then move forward to provide, like, everyone with what they require, with what they need to survive, with the ability to overcome their problems, and health issues going away. It's a very, very beautiful vision for the future. But instead of that, we've got culture wars left, right, and center. We've got Christians hating pagans, and pagans hating Christians, and pagans hating pagans, and Christians hating Christians. And we've got all of that cluster muck is getting in the way of any kind of progress. Alright, and all of the people who are going out into the world saying magic works, or it works, or the power of prayer works, they're not helping to promote understanding. These are not people who are living as examples as to what we should be. These are people in a state of their own energetic sickness. And the energetic sickness that these people are in, you get to understand when you understand the psychodynamics and all of the things that's made them the way that they are, and the physiology and the biochemistry and all this stuff. You realize that there is just sickness there. There is sickness in the most aggressive promoters of ideas, when essentially it should be the voice of a peaceful attitude and an attitude of grown-up, mature cooperation between people of different traditions and different backgrounds, which is what we should be heading for. And if people who are involved in various different faith groups or spiritualities feel that they're doing something right, ask them, are they fulfilling the mission of the New Age movement? And you can't do that through considering yourself to being set apart. Even from the most despicable people in the world, we are somehow strangely connected to them all. I want to try and encourage you to work out what you're doing for the global common good. To work out how your use of words is moving towards the global common good. To work out how your use of language and understanding is progressing the world properly. So you think you're a healer, how much do you know about herbs? You think you're a magician, how much you actually know about the chakras and the energy system and how that operates? No, you don't know much. And you don't know much because you've chosen a particular attitude And there's so many more out there which we've all got to learn from, and all have their specific roles in specific times with the specific individuals. And building up our understanding has got to be like the most important thing we can do as an action of compassion towards others. This, the vision of this whole New Age movement, it came out of, I suppose, the 60s. I mean, when the restrictions of the 1950s culture kind of like steadily collapsed, and there was the revival of the 60s and then the fashions of the 70s. It kind of like went to a bit of a decline in the 70s and then picked up a bit in the 80s with a bit more earth spirit thinking. And then in the 90s, we then ended up with a pagan movement that was trying to develop its identity. But where was the original spirit? Where was the original intention? The original intention is to make the whole world a better place. Not just you, not just your life. Although you and your life is an important part of the world, and yes, you have to work on it. But building up the understanding so that you can then help other people and spread knowledge, wisdom, and good spirituality, and good psychological understanding, good spiritual understanding, and good healing. This is where we should be going. This is what it should all be about. This is what all of your little cults and cultures should really be heading towards. And it shouldn't just be a question of, I follow this tradition, I follow that tradition, because that's rubbish. It's just rubbish. And it's stupid. Okay, stay in your tradition for the purposes of being grounded in your identity and provide you with the peace and stability that you require by all means. But talk with others who are from other traditions and try and build a culture of dialogue and conversation about where our similarities are and not our differences, and where we actually want the world to go. I don't think that most of us want to have a world with homelessness. I don't think that most of us want to have a world where there's disease. We can do something. But starting off by changing our cultural attitude towards everything that we do and everything that we are has to be where we begin. Okay, it has to be where we begin. The whole thing about what is the pagan movement kicking its heels up against? Against Christianity. Why bother? Instead, why not just be the example of what is right? And with good argumentation and good points of view, and to get your message across that way. Okay, there's harmful ideas, there's harmful theologies, yes there are, by all means, there's definitely. But what's the point in having those in something which was once upon a time, in the dim and distant past, when I was young and there were still velociraptors running around England? That goal, that vision, it was beautiful, and we can actually start to make it. We can do something. Changing our culture has to be the way in which we start.